I'm Bishop Étienne Vetö, Auxiliary Bishop of Reims, but until a few weeks ago I was the director of the Cardinal Bea Center for Judaic Studies of the Pontifical Gregorian University, so one of the main co-organizers of this conference. The Cardinal Bea Center is a center in which we offer a licentiate, in the only licentiate right now in the world, canonical licentiate, in Jewish studies and Jewish-Christian relations. We were founded in 2001 and twinned with the Center for the Study of Christianity of the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. And I think we can say we're one of the major centers of Jewish studies in a Christian, in a Catholic university in Europe and in the world. With this specificity that the students are mainly Christians, but we do have Jewish students, and the faculty is composed at least half Jewish professors, Jewish scholars, and half Christian scholars, and many of the classes are two-voice classes. So the whole aim of this center is to train Christians in knowledge of Judaism, in the love of Judaism, and to further relationships between Christians and Jews. When Pope Francis in 2020 opened the archives, he offered 16 million new documents to researchers and to the world. This is really a sign of his willingness, his search for transparency, and also his search to offer the possibility of serious study and research on the question. We're speaking about one of the most somber periods in the history of humankind, one of the most somber periods in the history of the relationship between the Church and the Jewish people. And it will obviously take an enormous amount of time to analyze these documents in a complete way, in a detailed way. So the conference we are offering just 3 years after the opening is an opportunity to have a first assessment, but what we will need to really confront this mass of documents is time. It's the fact of being able to put together studies from researchers from many different countries, and especially many different fields. We need specialists who study, who are aware of the question of the relationship between the Church and politics, the relationship between the Church and the Jewish people, and also the history of the Jewish people. We need researchers who know the history of convents, who know the history of parishes, researchers who know the history also of other Christian denominations. It's by bringing together all these fields that we will be able to disclose all the treasures that are contained in these documents. One of the unique aspects, one of the unique dimensions of this conference is that we are bringing together historians and theologians. Of course, the historical dimension is obvious. We need to better understand in what situation the Church was and in what situation the Jewish people were. We need to better understand from a historical point of view what are the motivations of the Church. We need to understand more exactly and precisely what the Church authorities and all the members of the Church said or did not say, what they did and did not do. So that's for the historical part. But this somber period of humankind has also brought up many questions of meaning, questions that actually are part of the field of theology. For example, we need to understand the relationship between Church and politics. To what degree should the Church be engaged? To what degree should the Church be neutral? Should she commit, take side? To what degree does she have a real autonomy? All these questions are theological questions. Other theological questions are the way that the Church has seen and sees the Jewish people, that has had impact, and impacts on the way the Church reacted in this period. And it's also necessary to see how what the aftermath of the Shoah is in a new understanding of the Jewish people by the Church. Another important theological question. A third theological question that is very much related to the ideology of the time is the question of what is humanity? Who is a human being? The equality of all human beings. Does race exist? Is it something that can be grounded on the Bible, on Christian teaching, or rather not? Another major theological issue. I believe, and we believed when we set up this conference, that it is impossible to fully understand this period of history without bringing together these two major fields of history and theology. Just a first assessment of these 16 million documents means that we are sure that we will have new light on the situation, the past situation. But there are things that we have to take into consideration. For example, we oriented the conference towards understanding the Church's relation to the Jewish people at all levels. Not only the level of the Pope, important level of course, and of the Vatican, but also of papal diplomacy, the nuncios, also the local bishops in different countries, and of course the whole Christian people, which means convents, parishes, lay people. This, we believe, will give a much wider, a much more detailed and complete view of what was the situation, what was the action, and of the Church, and what the Church did not do in this period in relationship to the Jewish people. Another aspect that we are expecting is to have a real contribution from the fact of bringing together Christian scholars, of course, but also Jewish scholars and scholars from other backgrounds. There's been a very impressive evolution in the relationship of the Church and the Jewish people in the past 50 and 60 years. And we believe that working together to confront our common past with its wounds is a way of furthering yet more this relationship. We are deeply grateful and happy of the steps forward that have been made in the past decades, but we believe that this is also an opportunity to make an extra step forward. In the Gospel, it is said that the truth will set us free, and this is something we believe. The truth can be demanding, but authentic relationships can only be grounded on the truth. We do hope that this truth will allow us to understand how never to repeat again in history this catastrophe, this disaster that was the Shoah.